we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, join us here as a guest, or let us know if you wanted to hear a topic or anything like that, or just wanted to reach out and say what up. Hit us up in the DMs at Bigmark Podcast or the Bigmark Pod on Instagram or Twitter, and hit the like button and write in the comments and do all that fun stuff too. Share with your friends, let everyone know. That's always the best way you can possibly ever help us out here and support the podcast. Just by you being here and watching is the best thing you can do. If you did want to go with an extra mile, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/BigmarkPod. There's a couple other ways to donate and help us keep the lights on, so to speak. And I've been kind of like meandering a little bit off the old beaten path with the frequency of having the podcast out just on the days themselves. At least I'm still going for that one time a week, but I've just been pushing it, and I think it's always funny, when you're pushing through life and things are going hard. At least for me, I find that if I'm going through a stressful time, near the end of that stressful time, I usually get sick. And it's not a topic that not everyone wants to talk about, but unfortunately, I think sometimes, especially with the seasons change, everyone starts to get sick. So the past few days, I've been kind of fighting something off a little bit. You might even hear it in my voice a little bit. I have yet to let it kind of cross the battlefield. It's at Helm's Deep. It's at the gate. The virus is trying to fucking bring it in. They're throwing all types of orc nonsense at me. They haven't got out the big fucking what was that thing? Oh my god, I'm such a bad Lord of the Rings fan. The big werewolf head, hog's head thing that they tried to smash through the doors at Helm's Deep with. Anyway, fall vibes, of course. Brings pumpkins, crisp air, cozy sweaters, but also runny noses, scratchy throats, and cough drops. Like I said before, usually after stressful times, but also with the change of the weather, everyone's always, their immune system is somewhat compromised, and, somebody always gets knocked out. And, we kind of wonder, why does this always happen in the fall? Why does it always happen at the change of the seasons, really? Is it the weather's the germs, something else going on? Who knows, right? But today we're going to be breaking down why fall equals sick season, and why bugs are floating around, and what to actually do about it. Actually, maybe leave something worthwhile here from the Bigmark podcast today. Now, why do we think fall makes us sick? Again, like we mentioned before, weather swings, of course, cold mornings, warm afternoons, body gets stressed, immune system doesn't like the roller coaster, right? We have the back to school effect as well. Kids are kind of walking germ factories, and if one kid's in class sneezes, suddenly half the school sniffling. It's a petri dish. It's super easy to have germs and sicknesses kind of go around. Less daylight as we're getting less and less daylight, shorter days, less vitamin D, which is what you absorb when you're out in the sun, and you actually absorb a lot of it through your eyes too. But your immune system's battery kind of runs low. And basically anyone who lives in the northern hemisphere is probably low in vitamin D. I had my blood work done probably just over a year ago, just to kind of make sure, I'm healthy. And nothing was wrong except just had low vitamin D. My doctor herself was like, you should take vitamin D supplements. In fact, almost all Canadians should take vitamin D supplements. Obviously, indoor living, as it gets a little cooler, people want to go back inside. Windows closed, everyone's breathing the same air, and even with the windows open, right? It's just everyone's kind of indoors a little bit more, and great for viruses, but of course not for us. Viruses actually thrive in cool, dry air. Colds and flus spread faster. In fact, as much as you think, humidity might not necessarily be your friend, but that heat is good, because it's essentially, most viruses just don't work when it's too hot or it denatures their cell walls or whatever. Who gives a fuck? But they don't like the heat. But the cool and the dry they like. And it's essentially like they've been waiting all summer to make their comeback tour. Basically, fall is a giant festival for germs, and we are the unlucky guests. So obviously common fall instances, colds and flu, and obviously now we have COVID to add into the whole mix here. Cold, obviously annoying but manageable, but flu hits you a little bit harder, knocks you out. And again, these are just essentially, effects of us having our immune system low, because they're always around. All these viruses, it's not like they only come around this time of year. They're always around. It's just how our immune system is compromised, right? And if you're asking yourself, do I have the flu or just a bad cold? Even if you ask, it's probably a cold, which is nice to know. Obviously allergies and such, there's kind of like the secondary season of allergies for ragweed, mold, piles of damp leaves. Again, it could just be kind of your immune system fighting imaginary battles. It's actually kind of funny to look at allergies that way, that some things that aren't necessarily super harmful, our body is spending a lot of time and energy battling. It might be trouble, right? Obviously sneaky ones, stomach bugs, sinus infections, like I mentioned, COVID again. And sometimes I've heard a lot of people, thinking it was a cold, but it turned out to be allergies as well. So stay woke, be aware that, and in fact, actually, if you do worry about, allergens or at least airborne pollens and stuff, it's actually not too hard and really inexpensive to buy like a box fan. They're usually about like $30 to $40, like a little box fan, 20 by 20, doesn't have to be big. And then you buy like the good quality furnace filter. And those are, again, about 30 to 40 bucks. So you're into this thing, maybe $80, but it's going to be about as good as most air filters that you can buy that are like $200+ with all kinds of fancy shit. And you can run that thing and you just replace the filter whenever you need it and you're fucking solid. So that's not a bad way to help yourself out that way. Being outside in the cold doesn't necessarily cause colds. It is a little bit more of an attack on the immune system, so it also weakens your immune system in a way. So otherwise, everyone would just be sick all the time. But again, these things that they start to sneak up on you. It's not just the cold. It's all these other things that are starting to battle at the same time, which are, your immune system in a way is kind of waging these wars with all these different battlefronts, allergies, different bugs, you're eating different things all of a sudden, it's just a different vibration, right? So, I know in my apartment, in fact, in the Bigmark studios here, it was actually really nice all summer because the air condition was going hard, and in fact you can get talk about dry cold air. Obviously it's easy to get sick with some of those things, but I felt the humidity was down a lot and it was really going. But now that it's not as hot, the air conditioner's not on as much, and because I'm in a basement, it gets a little bit more humid. Then I got a dehumidifier that I try to run, but then that's hot, and then that kicks out a lot of heat, so it heats up the whole place. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but in a way you want a little bit of humidity. You don't want to be too dry, but at the same time you don't want it to be damp and then fucking mold and gross shit happens, right? And it's also funny too. It's like, I don't know if it's an Eastern European thing, but there's something about putting the fan right on you. It's like never actually, if you're sleeping, don't put the fan like right on your face because you're gonna get sick. And like, I don't know if that's like a weird old wives' tale, or it's just like increasing the airflow, and like the fan might be dirty itself, and it's just like, who knows, right? But again, maybe there's a few different ways that we can obviously stay healthier during the fall. Hand washing, of course. I think if anyone was paying attention during the whole COVID thing, we did learn some ways about trying to mitigate kind of spreading things around. Like if you're fucking sick, stay at the fuck at home. Don't come to work. But again, hand washing, simple but works. Not just a quick rinse, but soap, water, actual scrubbing, give the hands a good wash. Sleep, super important for the immune system. 7 to 9 hours even is immune system fuel. So if you do have the chance, if you are sick and you take time off work, take that chance to put in a couple more hours of sleep. It will do you good. Binge watching is fun, but your immune system is not a Netflix fan. So don't stay up all night. And sleep. Vitamin C foods, super important. High vitamin C, citrus, peppers, dark greens. Those are really big in vitamin C, of course. Actually, I just had this beverage, Mela, M-E-L-A. It's actually from Stony Creek here in Hamilton. Mela, probably, actually, because it's melon. But it's like a watermelon beverage. Super interesting. It's got different flavors along with the watermelon, but it's like called watermelon water, but it's essentially like watermelon juice. Delicious, got electrolytes in it, garlic, soups, all these different fun things, I should say. Yes, chicken soup actually does help. Grandma wins again. Hydration, super important during these times when it starts to get cooler out. It's really easy to drink a lot of water when it's hot and you're sweating and you're like, fuck, I gotta drink. But as soon as it starts getting cooler, you don't feel that thirst as much, so you don't drink as much, and then you're out. So like, remember, 2 liters of water a day, 8 cups, drink that shit in. If your lips feel like autumn leaves, drink some water. Again, supplements like vitamin C is great. Vitamin D, of course, like I said, if you're not seeing the sun. Zinc, I find, helps a lot, but don't overdo it. You know, you can take a bunch of vitamin C, you can take a good amount of vitamin D. Your body's pretty good with dealing with those, and you can kind of pee that stuff out, but zinc is a heavy metal, so it's not amazing. Vitamin C won't necessarily turn you into Superman, but it definitely doesn't hurt. And then moderate exercise definitely boosts immunity. Actually, in fact, the key to this is actually moderate exercise. You don't want to do extreme exercise. In fact, I just read a study on ultra marathoners are doing like more damage to their gut when they're running. They're doing more to these like ultra marathons. They're doing more damage to their gut than like cancer or some crazy disease. Like it's just like really, really bad on you because your just body is just like pushing so much blood to your extremities and all your other muscles. It's actually pushing it away from your gut, and it's just like it's not amazing. But moderate exercise boosts immunity. Obviously, stress management is big. If you can manage your stress, you can manage your sick days, kind of thing. And obviously, it's easier said than done. But your body does notice when you're burning the candle at both ends. And, you know, we've talked about this a lot of times, right? We talked about, you know, burnout. We've talked about different things where this is what happens, is that eventually your body will fucking make the call for you. And that becomes even more stressful in itself when you can't even actually react to the things you want to react. Now you're actually fucking stuck doing nothing because you actually did nothing. You didn't do nothing. It's counterintuitive in a way, right? You didn't take your time and take your time. You didn't, you know, take a little vacation. You didn't rest when you needed to. You didn't, you know, say maybe no when you said yes, and all these different things. All of a sudden, you're gonna pay some way. Now, rest is number one. Like I said, if you do get sick, which I hate to say might be inevitable for some of our listeners here, rest is number one. Again, don't try to just push through. There's nothing, it's not going to make anything better. It's not just a timeline thing. You push through, you might actually make this thing last longer. It's not just like, oh, as soon as I start getting sick, there's a timer until I'm not sick anymore. No, you got to start devoting yourself to trying to get better. You're not winning an award for showing up to work sick. And like I mentioned before, don't fucking come to work sick because you're going to make other people sick. Over-the-counter relief. Obviously, we got pain relievers, decongestions, let alone all the organic remedies. Honey, ginger. I love a nice little ginger lemon shot with a little honey in it. You squeeze a little straight lemon juice, grate a little ginger in there, put a little honey just for taste, warm that binge up a little bit so it dissolves, and fucking kick that thing back. It starts to work, I swear to God. Actually, cold 911. You know what? Believe it or not, cold 911, not absolutely dog shit when it comes to actually kind of getting on top of things. At least I felt. Now, obviously, getting sick sucks, but sometimes things turn a little bit further and it gets a little bit more serious. You know, obviously, you're going to maybe want to consult a doctor when you get a little bit of a high fever. Of course, breathing problems, symptoms lasting just way too long. You know, we're talking about colds and flus here. They shouldn't be lasting you more than 2 weeks and shit. But again, be careful of this stuff. Don't just brush it off. If you are having serious symptoms, if you are having serious problems, real pain, consult your doctor. Obviously, missing fall activities suck, but recovery is quicker if you just slow down. If you do get sick, concentrate on getting better. Blanket soup, bad TV, whatever it is, that's your prescription. It'll make you feel a lot better. Trust me. Now, like I said, I've been trying to fight something off here. I was lucky enough to tell the boys in the band, hey, I can't get together tonight. So we did a little Zoom meeting and we were still able to make some decisions. Super great. So there are different ways. Again, as much as COVID sucked, maybe we did learn a thing or two when it comes to mitigating some of these diseases and stuff, or at least not spreading things to your fellow man. But I've been like I said, just right on the edge of something, fighting something. You feel a little soreness in the throat. And then all of a sudden I got my buddies down. I had my buddy Scott Barker down, Cooper Schnurr, friends of the podcast. Shout out, boys. I had them down, and we all of a sudden we're having a couple beers and stuff. And that, again, drinking is going to really affect the immune system. So you got to be super careful. So again, stay super hydrated, get the vitamins in you. And again, like I said before, fall brings cozy vibes, but also germs. Why it happens, what's out there, how to prevent, how to recover. These are all the different things, right? We talked about why. We talked about what's out there. We talked about how to prevent it. We talked about how to recover. And don't let a cough steal your fall. If this does happen, arm yourself with rest, food, maybe even good hand sanitizer. I want to hear about your funniest or worst fall sickness story too. I'd love to hear them. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know on the old podcast, in the old Twitter or Instagram. But yeah, I want to hear. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the season. And if you hear someone sneeze next to you, maybe just throw them a tissue and back away slowly. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Hope you all stay safe and healthy this holiday. Well, this fall season. It feels like holidays because things are changing. But get them in you, get the water in you, get the vitamins in you. Love y'all. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay wealthy, have fun, stay young. Peace out. Love y'all.